Hi, Anne. Thank you so much for joining us on the Next in Line podcast. We're very excited to have you on as a guest today. Now, before we get into everything that we're going to talk about in the marketing industry, I want you to take us back to the beginning of your journey, introduce yourself to the audience, and share a little bit about your journey and kind of how you got to where you're at today.
Okay, that's a big question. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to your podcast. I'm very excited to do this. I really am. Um, my name is Anne Boon. I'm originally from Belgium, and from a professional career perspective, I've always been in marketing. And it's actually not that I studied marketing many years ago when I went to college. Marketing
Right.
wasn't even a career. It was
Yeah.
part of business administration or economics, which is what I did. So I kind of ended up in marketing by coincidence, I have to say.
Mm.
Um, so I told you that I'm from Belgium. My native language is Flemish. And at a young age, after college, I went to the Caribbean, to the Dominican Republic, where my husband is from. And that's where I started my career. First, I worked for 8 years with Unilever, and then I had the fortune really to go to the Coca-Cola company, which as a
Wow.
market is a dream job, right?
Yes.
Coca-Cola being such an incredible brand, and so really a dream job. And then with Coca-Cola, I was able to have a international career. They moved us to Costa Rica, beautiful country as well in Central America. They had their headquarters there for a division within Latin America. And then with Coke, I was able to go to Atlanta in the US, where we live now, because of having their headquarters, their global headquarters there in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And then my last assignment was in Russia, in Moscow. So big difference from the
Yes.
Caribbean to Moscow. I mean, you can
Yeah.
imagine what that was for my husband, right? And my children as well. And so an international career I mean, offered me lots of learnings, and I'm sure we will talk a little bit more about that as well. And then when COVID hit, we came back to Atlanta. We want to make sure that we were able to be all together as a family. My children were doing college in Europe at that point, so we were kind of all over the place. And COVID, I mean, those were scary times. We didn't know
Yeah.
how it's lasting. So I actually asked to be relocated back to Atlanta to bring the family together again. And then a year later, I left the Coca-Cola company. They had a reorg, a restructuring happens all the time in organizations, and my role got eliminated. So I had to look for a new opportunity after 17 years with Coca-Cola.
Wow.
A few months later, I then started with graphic packaging, and graphic packaging is a global packaging company.
Mhm.
And that was very interesting transition for me because my expertise was really in consumer marketing, right? Unilever, Coca-Cola,
Yeah.
those are companies that sell products to consumers, while graphic packaging, that took me to the business to business side. And um, I was very lucky that the hiring manager, my boss, one of my best bosses, really, he saw many transferable skills, so he made that bet on me and believed that all of those skills and obviously as well leadership skills that I had, I could bring that to the B2B side, although I didn't have the expertise from B2B.
Yeah.
And what I have been doing for the last 4.5 years. So yeah, again, always marketing and an international career.
Wow. Well, what an amazing journey and what an incredible international career. I mean, you've been all over the place globally, and I kind of want to talk about that as well. How did those moves kind of shape, the way that you see leadership and opportunity, being that you were able to experience all these different places and with different companies as well?
Yes, yes. Well, I think as a leader, um, you have people reporting to you. You have, I would even say, you have these people under your care.
Yeah.
Um, um, People that on a daily basis come to work, and you have the privilege to lead them and kind of care for them. And what I've learned um, through an international career are the importance really to understand the culture behind those different countries. And it feels
Yeah.
very obvious, right? I mean, yes, of course. Um, I thought it was interesting when you go with the same company, that because a company has a culture as well,
Yeah.
right? You have a company culture, and then you have the culture of a country. So from my international career was always with the Coca-Cola company. So that made it a little bit easier because I was within the same company culture, but definitely the different cultures, Latin America on one hand, the US, and then Russia. They're three very different cultures. And you might be very surprised. Russian culture and Latin American culture is closer than you might think.
Yeah.
They're both cultures that really appreciate relationships very deeply, um, where the conversations beyond the meeting are as important as the conversations during the meeting to get the
Absolutely.
business done. Those kind of things. The U.S., on the other hand, I think is way more straightforward, very punctual.
Yeah.
um, they know what needs to be done, and then you just go and do that. So relationship building, I think, is different. So what helped me from having an international career is probably being more sensitive to all of these cultural differences. Um, the I think I learned to listen more, to take the time to listen and to learn before I would speak. And I think that from for as a leader, that is an important trait. And as a marketeer, maybe even more important, right? Because
Yes.
the marketeer as well, it's all about really understanding your consumer, really understanding your customer, depending if it is the B2C or the B2B place. And it's the same as a leader with your team, really listening and trying to understand how people, individuals, and teams and organizations operate. So then you can kind of adjust to that and get the most out of them, which is at
Absolutely.
the end your role as a leader to get the most out of your team and out of that potential of a team to impact results and the business.
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree more. I kind of want to double down into that B2C and B2B space as well, because you mentioned now you have the experience with both and you went to that jump as well in your career. What was that transition like for you, especially being that you went from the international side from B2C now to the B2B space?
Yes, and you hear a lot of people talking about that B2C, B2B. It's very different. It's difficult to make
Yes.
transition. A lot of hiring managers actually, they when you apply for a job in the B2B space, but you come from the B2C place, they will not take that bet on you because they say you lack the experience, you don't have the skill set, you don't have the expertise. And my experience has been that it is making that transition is not that difficult at all. Really, a lot of transferable skills that you can bring. The most important, I would say, is that the importance of deeply understanding and knowing your audience. It might be a consumer, it might be a customer. In the case of business to business, um, it is often a buying committee. So you really need to understand who is that buying committee. It might be the procurement teams, or it might be marketeers, or it might be finance people, depending on who it is. But the discipline of really knowing your audience is the same thing.
Yeah.
Another thing is how you communicate in your messaging to that audience. And I believe there is a little bit of a misconception there that, and often I hear that that is the big difference between
Yeah.
consumer marketing and B2B marketing, that when you do consumer or communication advertising to consumers, the storytelling needs to be way more emotional, right? You
Yeah.
have to evoke these emotions, you build a brand. And I think of Coca-Cola, it's all about
Yes.
the magic around these occasions and connecting with that target audience. But, and then on the other hand, they often say, in the case of business to business, your communication needs to be more rational, because your audience, your target audience, they need to take a very rational decision on buying your product or service versus one from the competitor, right? So your communication needs to be more rational. And there's something to that. Obviously, you need to provide a lot of um, logical information and data about what your product is about, and you need to outline the value proposition of what you sell. But I would say, to be really effective in your communication, you also need to bring emotion in that storytelling.
Absolutely.
Also need to apply storytelling. And I like to say, those buyers, they are people as well. They are consumers when they go to the groceries, or when they
Yes.
are in a car and they ask for a beer, they are consumers. And then when they're at the office, they suddenly become a buyer. No, it's the same person, right? It's the same
Yeah.
being. And they as well, in that professional setting as a buyer, they have emotions. And good marketing and good messaging really takes that into consideration. What ticks those people? What are some of the problems they have? What are some of the the um, the motivations they have in their work environment? So even in the B2B space, I think emotional storytelling is important, and it's an art to combine that rational value proposition messaging and emotional storytelling. So that is something that I think B2B professionals can learn from B2C.
Absolutely.
And then on the other hand, I also think that a lot of B2C um, marketeers can learn a lot from professionals from the B2B segment. And I think above all, it is that more data analytics, but as well building longer and stronger relationships with your audience. I think in the business to business, you know that the buying cycle is often longer. It
Yes.
takes in the B2B segment, it might take a full year before your customer or your prospect actually buys your product. And throughout that year that you're talking to them, you really need to nurture that relationship. There's a lot of relationship building in the B2B space. And in the B2C space, the consumption of products is often way faster, right? And
Yeah.
again, go with Coca-Cola, that's on a daily base or on a weekly base. But I think that in the B2C space, building longer relationships with your consumers is very important, and I think they can learn from how the B2B marketeers do that. So there's learnings from both of them. I am lucky that I was able to make the transition, that my boss saw that potential and saw the value of what I could bring coming from B2C. And my advice to others would be try to get experience in both. It just
Yes.
makes you a stronger marketeer if you have been able to touch a little bit of both.
Absolutely, and I love the way that you just described the overlap that both of them have, because I feel like a lot of people don't really realize that until once they've either worked in the space or they see it for themselves through, let's say, something like this, like you just shared your journey. And I kind of want to talk about that storytelling piece a little bit more because I couldn't agree with that more. I work a lot with B2B companies too, and we bring that storytelling approach into the marketing that we do for them. And that's something that I've learned early on in my career. And I was lucky too that back when I was in college and a professor actually taught me that early on, this balance and overlap as well.
Yeah.
And it stuck with me ever since then because I was like, "Wow, at the end of the day, you're right. They're humans, still with emotion, just bu on the buying side, and you still have to connect with them either way."
Yes, and you need to
So, so
discover
true.
what are those emotions, right?
Exactly.
What is the personality or the motivations, the fears, that goes behind that person that you're talking to, and then you adjust your narrative and your message appealing to that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, and another thing that you mentioned too was that in the B2B space, it is a longer buying journey, which
Yeah.
is true. The relationship usually takes a lot longer. You have to build it, especially here in the US. Like you said, it's different than other countries too. And the buyer's journey now, at least right now, is so different than what
Mm.
it used to be. People buy differently, people see things differently online just because of all the social media platforms out there, influencers now a part of the marketing strategies too. So right now in this space, I feel like it's completely changed even from 2 years ago, 3 years ago. We can go on and on about the time that it's changed, but
Yes.
currently, I know buyer's journey is very, very different.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I started doing marketing 30 years ago.
And you've
If
seen it evolve, though.
And we have seen it evolved, exactly.
Yes.
But the marketing tactics that we were applying 30, 25, 20 years ago, I mean, nothing, those tactics are obsolete.
Yeah.
The strategies are the same.
Yes, the core of it, for
The
sure.
core of it is you need to drive awareness, you need to build interest, you need to all of that. Those steps are the same. But what is different are the tactics. How do you drive awareness,
Yeah.
right? And now with AI coming in, it's even. I mean, the change now is going to exponentially go faster. So now,
Yes.
if at a certain point we are starting to look at okay, search engine optimization. How do people get information now that we have search and Google and digital blah blah blah? So search engine optimization. But now it is how do we? People don't search on Google anymore. They go to Chat GPT,
Yes, they use AI.
ask AI. Exactly. So as a marketeer, we now need to make sure that we optimize our content in such a way that AI picks it up.
That's very true. I didn't think of it like that.
Exactly. So how do you do that?
Yeah.
I don't have the answer. I don't know yet, but definitely that is what we need to start thinking about, right? Is AI another persona that we
Yeah.
need to talk to, that we need to convince. So, I mean, it's an always changing and very dynamic environment, but I think that's what makes business interesting. That what makes
Yes.
marketing interesting. And yes, it makes it very exciting, I would
It
say.
is. It is, and it's I think that's the exciting piece about the marketing industry is, like, there's always something new, always, and there's always an opportunity to learn, and I think that's why another important piece is to always stay curious because, especially in the marketing industry, you need to learn and adapt to the new ways of like you just mentioned, I didn't even see it in that light of we need to be optimizing our content for AI too. That is something that, I didn't even think of until you just mentioned today. So I'm constantly learning from people like yourself too. And I think in marketing that is very, very important for people to continuously learn and to dive into all the new things that are coming up. Because if you
Yes,
don't have
new things are scary,
yeah,
right? I mean, going into a new area that you don't know about, it's very scary. It's getting out of your comfort zone. But I think,
absolutely.
what you're mentioning, not only in marketing, it's probably in whatever career, staying curious, and wanting to discover and learn about things is extremely important to continue growing. Absolutely.
Yeah. And now that we're kind of on this subject, I wanted to talk about how you've built and led teams that consistently ranked, amongst one of the highest engagement scores within the companies that you worked with. What do you think makes people feel truly connected and motivated at work during that time?
Yes. And I mean, we had our conversations before recording this podcast, right? And I was
Yes.
telling you a little bit about something that I'm very proud of,
Yes.
which is really at my last job with graphic packaging, where we do, and you do that in many organizations, at the Coca-Cola company as well. You on a yearly base, we would, they call it a pulse survey, trying to understand how employees, how they feel at work, and
Yeah.
really to learn from that, and then to see what do we need to change, because you know that employees that are highly engaged, they call it an engagement survey. um, People that are highly engaged, normally that correlates with high performing teams. So you
Yeah.
want highly engaged teams, because that result in high performance, right?
Yeah.
So, and at graphic packaging, I had for 3 years in a row the highest engagement scores within the organization. So yes, I'm very, very proud of that.
I love it.
Yes, yes, me too, me too. And then when I think back on it, and reflect a little bit, how does that happen?
Yeah.
Um, because it's not that I had my formula, that I had my magic list. I need to do this, this, and this. It kind of happens. But then when I reflect on it, I can talk about, there's several things that I really try to do, and it seems to work, right? Um, First thing is, I really try to build within my team this environment of trust, and kind of start with that, right?
Yeah.
So everybody within the team feels they can say whatever they want. They can make a mistake and not feel that it's always an exam that you have to pass. Uh,
Yeah.
but so there is this notion of trust. If you really fail my trust, in the sense that you don't show up at work, or
Yeah.
you don't give your best at work without explaining to me why, because there might be
Yeah.
a reason why. Um so so trust, I think, is a very important one. Another one is communication. A lot of communication, and my role as a leader is really trying to share always more about the the overall business objectives. I think it's very important that everybody in the team, even an intern, understands how what they're doing, how that actually connects with the bigger strategy. So
Yeah,
so a lot of so they feel their worth, and they understand how that contributes to the big objectives we have as a company. So communication is important, and also opening my door so people can communicate to me and ask me questions or clarifications or whatever. A
yeah,
third element for sure is teamwork. We're great individually, but we're fantastic when we work as a team. And when you feel that others have your back, that you're not alone in it, and so that notion of really um, making people feel that there's an entire team that you can rely on,
exactly.
um, and then celebrating the wins that you have, and try to think about that. That is something that I kind of have as a checklist on, is what can we celebrate this week?
Yeah.
What is a milestone that we achieved? What is it doesn't have to be a big project has finished, because that might happen after 1 year. You need regular smaller wins, and we need to celebrate that,
Yeah.
recognize that. um, I am still sensitive to receive recognition at my age, after 30 years in my career.
Yeah.
I still like it when my boss says, "Ah, that was a great job done.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Look at what we did, and you did this and this and this." That makes me feel good, and I want to go for more. So I need to do that as well with my team. And then the last one would be caring deeply about the individuals of the team. Like I said before, I mean, all of these people in my team, they come on a daily base to the office, or not, I mean, working
Yeah.
remote or whatever. But they show up, and they're one way or another under my care, caring deeply and getting a little bit personal as well, knowing them
Yeah.
as a person, understanding what is going on at home. I try to I talk a lot about my family and about my children and about my husband and about my
Yes.
dogs, and so I try to show up with my whole self, and my children, my dogs, and my husband are part of that, right? And
Yeah.
when I'm able to say, "Oh my God, I have a bad day because my daughter needs to leave next week to Spain where she's studying, and I'm gonna miss her," when I can express those things, and I let my people as well express those things that happen at home, I think caring for that just makes people feel seen, and
Absolutely.
one way or another, it has been working for me. They feel highly engaged, and it I have seen with my own eyes how engagement correlates with high performers. They want to do good, and when you want to do good, when you want to excel, you excel. That's how it works.
Yeah. Especially because of the trust that you've built personally with them, professionally, and then at the end of the day, it all kinda, like, seamlessly comes together as one, and you're this, like, unit that's able to execute on the things that you need to execute at your job, but you're also very close with your peers, and I think that is very, very important.
I agree. That's those are environments where I thrive in, and
Yeah.
a lot of what I try to do as a leader, it is because I saw it in other leaders.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you pick up on what works for me, what are environments that really help me thrive, and that is what we always need to try and do, right? Emulate what you see that you really like and admire, and also learn from the things that you don't like,
Yeah.
because we have all been exposed to leaders or to people around us where you say, you know what, I don't want to do that. I think this is not working. It's not working for me, and I see it's not working for the people around me. So
Yeah.
even that you can learn, and you have to take some time and think about it. What is it about that behavior that is not working? So you think about that and say, okay, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think those lessons are also very important to shape how you become a leader in the future as well, because if you don't learn that, then how can you know exactly what you don't like versus what you do like, and then emulate that around the people that either you're managing or it's your team or your peers, whoever it is. Like it all impacts the people around you and even yourself too in your own journey.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, we all always should take some time and reflect.
Yes.
What is working and why is it working? And how can I make sure that I repeat that, right? Or the
Yeah.
other way around. Why is this not working?
Yeah.
And so reflecting about leadership behaviors is very important. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And now that we're talking about this, I want to shift gears more towards that next generation and the younger professionals. Now, those who want to kind of grow into leadership roles as they grow into their career, what advice would you give them about saying yes to opportunities, even when they feel outside of their comfort zone?
Yeah. And you will almost always feel out of your comfort zone
Yes.
because growing means that you're entering a new stage that you were not in before.
Yeah.
So so it's change, and change is always uncomfortable. And my advice would always be is to trust that you can do it.
Yeah.
You will never ever be fully prepared for something. And I think, um, at least when I talk to younger people, and I don't know, I don't want to generalize, but I sometimes think that I see it more in women than in men.
Yeah.
Um, that there's this lack of trust that they can do it.
Yeah.
That um, fear of taking the risk, fear of making the jump into a bigger role or a different role. And you use the words taking the risk or saying yes to things. That would
Yeah.
be biggest advice always. Say yes when an opportunity is thrown at you. Often leaders around you or um, people in and friends, and I'm talking in a business setting, right? They will see potential in you that you don't see in yourself.
Yeah. That's
And
very
um, trust trust that if somebody sees a potential, um, take that risk. And when I talk to other people and even my own children, they um, I think maybe that is a US thing, I don't know, but um, um, every decision they're taking, it might be, where am I going to study? What am I going to study? It comes with so much stress and so much, oh, I need to take this decision, and it's such an important decision. And if I don't do that, then my entire life is going to fall apart. Or as well, when people think about their career, they try to plan the journey. First I need to do that, and then I need to do this training and course so I can move here. And they try to um, kind of map it all out. But I would say slow down a little bit,
yeah.
risks, and go from one to the other. Make lateral moves as well. When somebody tells you something, I think you would enjoy doing this. Try it out. What can go wrong? What can go wrong is that you didn't like it, or
Yeah. You
you're
learn
not,
from
well, then
it.
you go back, you know?
Yeah,
But you, at least you learned about it. So I would say, um, don't take risks. Don't overthink everything too much. Don't plan too much because your career journey might not at all go as how you planned it.
yeah,
That's how it went for me. By no means I planned to go to Russia at a certain point.
yeah,
Or, and so yeah, saying yes to opportunities and take risk, that I um would tell the younger generation.
absolutely, and I couldn't agree more with you, honestly, because I think when you say yes and you step out of that comfort zone is when you're gonna see the most growth in your career, even as a person. And you kind of get out of your own way, even though it's a little bit hard at times because you have that voice in your head that maybe it's overthinking and whatnot. And you had this plan and you had to do it like this. But at the end of the day, when it doesn't go like that, it ends up, you know, blossoming into something much better than what you had planned in the beginning.
Absolutely. That is how it normally works out. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I always love hearing about that journey once, people talk about it too. And even hearing your own journey, it's always great to see kind of how that was navigated too, because we can all learn something from someone who's been there and then also pay it forward to the next, which that's something that I love to do as well.
Yeah. Yes. And that's what you're doing, right? With your
Yes.
podcast. So,
Yeah,
mhm.
absolutely. And now my final question for you is going to be if you can go back and give your younger self one piece of advice at the start of your leadership journey, what would that be?
Hmm. Um, that's a good one. And probably it is similar to what I would tell the next generation, right? So I don't
Yes.
want to repeat myself, but I did say yes to many opportunities that came at me, and that's how I ended up in in different countries and different settings. But um, risk taking and going in, those were certain risks for sure. I would tell myself to take even more risks
Yeah.
and um, and embrace probably more the things that I was not good at, and um, instead of being kind of how do you say that, trying to play that down, I
Yeah.
would work on that hard so you can shine in that, So I've seen people who have done things like they're not good in public speaking, and then they say, you know what, I'm going to do an acting class
Wow.
to force myself, and I'm going
Yeah.
to try and do that, that kind of a thing. I think is really amazing, and that is something that um I would have liked to have done more. Things that I'm afraid of, things that I'm um, maybe not good at, is how can I really push and stretch myself and just go and do it. You know?
Yes. Absolutely. And what a better way to end off this episode. Honestly, thank you so, so much for sharing such a wonderful journey that you had in your career and saying yes to this opportunity and being on the podcast and just, paying it forward to that next gen. I hope they learn a lot from everything that you've shared with us today.
Well, I hope so too. Thank you so much for inviting me, Karina, and congratulations to you for doing this. I think it's wonderful that you're offering your platform to help us people that are more seasoned in leadership and be able to share our story and hopefully positively impact whomever that is listening. Thank you for
Thank you
doing
so
that.
much. I appreciate that. Thank you.